The ICE thing is taking on this apocalyptic, bizarre world nature. So much so that the immigrants don't even seem to matter anymore. The illegals. It's all about the far left and the far right and the friggin' ICE agents. It's kind of gross and grimy and dangerous, and people are dead. And stuck in the middle are people that actually really are under arrest or getting harassed, or ICE agents who want to quit, or whose lives are being threatened, they're being doxxed. It's horrible. No one knows this better, and I don't trust anyone more with the info than my friend Joseph Patrick Murphy, immigration lawyer. Good afternoon, brother.
Good afternoon, Marty.
It's kind of weird what's happened. We don't even think about the illegals. It's just someone beating the hell out of someone else or someone getting shot. You know what I mean? It's weird.
It is. It's become a nightmare.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's there's certainly an appetite during the election for this. That was a big campaign issue of President Trump. This is what it looks like, right?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
What?
Yeah.
You text me, man. Kind of describe what's happening, because this is actually part and parcel to what I'm discussing here.
So you've got immigrants go into court. People have routine stuff, speeding tickets, U-turns. This particular fellow had a DUI.
Yeah.
Okay? This is the first time DUI. No one was hurt. It's the typical thing, weaving. We go to court. He goes into we get into the courthouse itself. He's sitting in the waiting area. I went into the actual judge's chambers to say hello. Next thing I know, the tip staff comes and says, they just took your guy.
Oh, God.
And I look out the window, and there's ICE agents walking away with my client.
Oh, God.
I mean, obviously, this guy doesn't have a visa. He entered the country illegally, and that's what ICE agents are supposed to do. But there's a couple things that come to mind, and one of them is, if going to court, getting a ticket, a U-turn, a DUI, something like this, if that means the certainty of deportation, people are going to stop pulling over. They're going to start fighting with local police. What do you expect people to do when the rational choice is not to obey? Normally, a system like a system of courts, right? The not going has to be worse than going. Otherwise, the incentives go backwards and you have chaos. But that's what they're doing. And they're dumping this on local police, right? Because the ICE people aren't the ones that, these guys are going to be brawling with over minor offenses, because it's the end for them. It's a deportation. So how are you going to have people turn themselves in? How are you going to have people pull over when you think the DUI? Why not run? And that's the problem. This is threatening some real serious chaos. When you think about Homeland Security, deportation of illegals, stuff like that as a public safety issue, now you got to weigh the public safety issue of the migrants misbehaving in various ways because there's no upside for them. What are they going to do? They're just going to deport you either way.
Hey, hold on. Dumb question. Yeah. Why would a guy who knows he's here illegally, gets arrested for DUI, why the hell would he go to court anyway? Honestly.
Because theoretically, if he doesn't, then he'll have both the locals and Homeland Security chasing him on a bench warrant.
I see.
But that calculus and advice I give clients, I always advise people to follow the law and follow lawful court orders. That's what I'm required to do. But I could also explain to them what's likely to happen if they don't. That's the problem.
Wow.
The other thing is that they knew where this guy was all along. They have his home address. They have his biometrics. We continued the court case for months over the holidays. If this was such an enforcement priority that we need to snatch him up at the courthouse, they could have just gone to his house.
Or they just taken the lazy way out?
Well, what's the point? Why are they doing this?
Because it's easy. Sure I'm just playing idiot here. I go to court, snatch your guy and go.
Yeah, well, you could have snatched him on his way to work. You could have snatched him at his house. You could have snatched him in Giant Eagle. I mean, any number of places. They've got surveillance on these people. They know where they are. So,
hold on. Is he some hardened criminal or is just a DUI?
Just a DUI. Kind of a nice fellow. He even got rid of his car because he knew he had a little bit of a problem. We were going to try and get him some help with that. But he rode an Uber to court today. So, what's the deal here, guys, right? Why do we need these high drama things at courthouses, which really threaten to undermine, again, rationality? Like I said, court only works when it's better to go there.
By the way, you're not arguing that the guy shouldn't be arrested. You're not arguing that he shouldn't be justice.
No, I'm arguing. Right? I'm arguing against these. I'm arguing against these courthouse arrests. It threatens the stability of the court system. It threatens violence. Again, it creates this perverse incentive to not comply with law enforcement.
And I say just a DUI. I'm getting grief about that. The onus
right,
was we're going after murderers and rapists and drug dealers, right? This is a one-time offender.
Correct.
Shows up for court, and they arrest him. And you're saying
Hires a lawyer, gets
Right.
dressed up like respectfully, makes sure he has an Uber to take him there. None of these kind of crazy things that you'd expect. And I walked him into the courtroom and said, "Wait here." And I went into the actual judge's chambers and was bang. Yeah. No notice to me, no nothing. And next thing I know, the guy's outside. It's creepy. And
Yeah.
again, this guy, I don't think he would have resisted arrest. Is not that type of person. But there's large numbers of people here. And when that immigrant community finds out that non-compliance has better results than compliance, holy moly, are you going to have trouble on your hands? I think this is a foolish idea here. And I would hope they'd reconsider it.
so.
Not arresting these people. If they're here illegally, that's their job. But doing that in courthouses, again, threatens the incentive system. The only rational behavior starts to be not going.
By the way, you cannot stand, and I don't want to speak for you, but you have expressed this. The white ladies in the Range Rovers with the cell phones blowing whistles and screaming at the agents. You hate that, don't you?
Right, because that's another form of lawlessness. It's just the opposite side of it.
It is.
Okay, when you just because you have a badge doesn't mean you can't break the law, and it doesn't mean you can't fail to realize you're breaking the law. Just because you have a Range Rover doesn't mean you can't break the law, and just because you have a Range Rover doesn't mean you could fail to realize that too. When these people are getting underfoot in law enforcement, that fellow, got underfoot in law enforcement while carrying a gun. This is a really bad idea. Notice I didn't run out there and fight with ICE officers because I didn't like what they were doing.
By the way, this has happened with another one of your clients. They chased him across 65 into traffic.
That's true.
Yeah.
Well, he did actually run, and you're gonna start seeing more of that, because not only have they weaponized the local court system, but they've really very, very quickly gerrymandered the rules inside immigration court so that nobody's getting out anymore. The bonds are very, very difficult, very difficult to get an immigration bond. Even where the person is only in there for immigration violations, it's a very small group of people that can still get immigration bond. The immigration courts. What people don't understand is immigration court is part of the same agency that's trying to deport you. Because of that, it's subject to internal agency biases. You're going to have to spend a lot of money to exhaust all your remedies inside immigration and get into federal court before you get a judge whose check doesn't come from the Department of Homeland Security.
Joseph Patrick Murphy, immigration lawyer, you have been characterized as a bad guy for representing these people. Do you consider yourself a bad guy?
I do not, and I don't consider criminal defense attorneys bad guys for representing criminals. I don't consider divorce attorneys as bad people for representing people who couldn't hold their marriages together. By
the way, my friend, and I love her, said DUI, just a DUI. I apologize. She's right. That's serious stuff, and people die. I'm not diminishing that.
It is.
What I'm suggesting is the onus was we're going after murderers, rapists. Now they're snatching a guy up in the hallway of the courthouse.
Right. This wasn't ICE arresting him to prevent a DUI. The DUI was a done deal, and it was handled by the local cops. The problem is, if this person, probably if he was a different person, he's a pretty law-abiding guy, but if this was a different person, and if this person knew that complying was going to result in deportation, maybe they think twice before pulling over.
So now you're saying, and by the way, your theory is, and I buy into what you're selling, this will force them underground. Hell with it. I'm just going to do my thing, right?
And when people go underground, and I've been doing this for a long time, they become ripe for exploitation. When they're afraid to go to the police because someone touched their child, that starts happening more. There's a cash economy, exploitation of these migrants. Then it becomes fueling another type of public safety problem called crime. So this is a pincushion. And I'm not suggesting that we stop deporting none of this kind of stuff. This is not a political thing for me. I'm an immigration lawyer. I don't argue about what the speed limit is. I argue about whether my client violated it. But my point is arresting people in courthouses is going to make them less likely to comply with court process. How can you expect them to come when they don't even get a chance to plead their case and they're snatched up from the lobby?
Hey, man,
and thrown out of the country.
You're always in the middle of these discussions. What do you tell people that want to go down and protest ICE? There was a big Big protest last night outside their headquarters. What do you tell people?
People have an absolute right to protest.
Yeah.
I have no problem with people
Sure, yeah.
protesting. But what does that mean? Because it means peacefully. It doesn't
Right
mean
on.
with bullhorns. It doesn't mean invading spaces or breaking into hotels where ICE is. If you're worried ICE is going to overstep, keeping them up all night with sirens and bullhorns, what do you think's more likely to result in bad performance?
No, I agree. It's an
Right?
accident waiting to happen, brother. And we have dead people
it's
to
a
prove
setup.
it. It's horrible.
It's a setup. You keep these people in a state of unable to get sleep, keep them angry and angry and angry, and then expect them to have this, the patience of Job dealing with migrants.
But let me say this.
With you-
Let me say this. What they did, and I don't agree with anything they did in Minneapolis, the protesters, it was horrible to watch. They got done what they wanted to get done, sir.
Well, what do they really
Humpty
want to do?
Dumpty. You know what I'm saying? They're falling. It's
As I
crumbling.
say, if you really want to fight ICE, if you really don't like what they're doing
Yeah.
and you want to do something to stop it, you got to go to law school and do what I do. There's rules about who gets to do that.
I know,
and
my
it's
man,
not
but
just
these
anybody who feels
protests,
like
you cannot argue it. They're having impact. Insane impact. They are.
it. In Minneapolis. But
No,
where's
no,
the-
no,
I
no.
don't-
In Washington. Sent the big shots out. You watch. Kristi Noem will go. Trump is saying we got to review the policies. No, man, it's been insane, the impact. I'm not saying
Yes.
I would
Right.
send my kids to those protests. Not my thing. But my man, to suggest it's just Minneapolis is just not accurate. It's my man, it's hit the fan.
As far as
And it's put Trump's immigration policy in jeopardy. They've lost the narrative, sir. They have.
right. No, there is a certain feeling that the initiative has been lost. You're right.
Yeah. You're my man.
I mean, look.
Go ahead.
Thank you. But yeah, I mean, I'm not exactly a radical or an anarchist
No.
like some of these people are. But when you get me starting to double think about this, and I've seen it all. I saw
You
what
have.
Obama did.
You have.
You
have.
Yeah, that's a pretty long stretch to get me cranked up as they did today.
Joseph
I-
Patrick Murphy, just a fine Irishman. Best immigration lawyer I know. Thanks, my man.
Thank you, Marty. Pleasure. Bye-bye.
It's amazing. The whole issue is amazing.
Listen to KDKA Radio on the Odyssey, iHeartRadio, or TuneIn app.